But this session is really about how do we gain insights and knowledge from another sector about customer service and about our brand as CSPs. And it has a real relevance from Jenny's speech yesterday, which I hurriedly wrote down, and I didn't get it validated from anybody from Sport England to say, actually, we really need to think carefully of how we work with customers and how do we understand what our customers want. So in planning this session today, we weren't aware that Jenny was going to say that, but we've been working quite closely with Colin from Parcs. He's an old family friend, very old family friend. And we thought about this session, and we had a day. In fact, we could have had 2 days. So what we've done is condensed it into a short keynote from Colin, and then the Graham Norton bit, or the Jeremy Paxman bit, depends on his answers. And actually, to enable us to get through the session, we've used some slides in planning the responses, and we really hope you enjoy it. So I'd like to welcome Colin Whaley, Sales and Marketing Director from Parcs.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you. Morning, everybody. And thank you to Simon. Thank you to Adrian for inviting me here today. I don't often get let out from Parcs. We've got quite an insular business, a successful business, but one thing I noticed from the conversations I had last night is how different the challenges are for you, the need for networking and partnerships, the politics that's involved, quite different from my world. But I do hope coming to you with an outside perspective will add some value. I know you've got some challenges and thinking to do moving forward, so hopefully a little bit of insight to the world of Parcs will help. I certainly enjoyed last night, and I think it was Chris Jones who said that the work you guys are involved in changes people's lives. And coming from the outside, I really got a sense of that, getting a little bit more detail. The videos from the awards I found very inspiring. So I do feel quite privileged to be here today, and I hope there's something you could get out from the Parcs world. I thought, firstly, I should say a little bit about who Colin Whaley is, because none of you will have ever heard of me. As Simon said, I'm here because I'm a family friend. I suppose my formative years in my professional career were at British Airways. Excuse me. 14 years at British Airways. A great place to learn about marketing, where the brand is really important. It's at the forefront of what we talked about internally. A real focus on customer service and a real focus on customer insight and keeping in touch with customers' wants and needs. My last 11 years have been at Parcs, heading up sales and marketing, and I've tried to bring some of that foundations that I got from British Airways into my world at Parcs. My team look after the whole mix of sales and marketing channels. Our role, I suppose, is to create interest in the Parcs brand, get people to understand what the brand is about, get them to the website, and hopefully make a booking. And all of it is founded on a solid brand. We try to be an aspirational brand for families in the UK. The next slide is a little bit about me outside of work. You'll be pleased to know I'm not going to talk through all those slides, but I think it was worth putting up because too often we just look at the surface with the people we deal with the customers we're trying to attract or looking after in whatever business we're in. And I think this is supposed to be indicative of the value you can get through all walks of life in terms of understanding beneath the surface, getting a bit of background about people and understanding their motivations. I think we can all have more productive business and personal relationships and make better decisions about people and situations if we know a bit more behind the scenes, if you like. By the way, that football team is AFC Wimbledon, who I've supported since I was a child. It's the greatest fairy tale in football. Please do not mention the franchise club that live up the road in Milton Keynes. Centre Parcs then. First of all, if you could help me out, a question, simple question for you. If you could raise your hand if you have had a short break stay at Centre Parcs, please. Ooh, good. And keep your hands up if that has been in the last 3 years. A fair proportion, but some of you need to come back and try us again. We've spent about £350 million in the last few years improving everything at Centre Parcs, so please come back. But that's interesting to know, and that means we're doing a relatively good job in getting UK visitors to the parks. So a little bit of background, so I think before Simon asked me some questions, I think it would be useful for everybody to understand what Centre Parcs does and what we're about. So we have 5 locations spread across the UK. We call them villages. We call them villages because they're self-contained. We're essentially running 5 small towns. You stay put at Centre Parcs, you stay for a 3 or 4 night stay, changeover days on Monday or Friday. It is largely about families, and these are the sorts of things you'll experience at a Centre Parcs village. It's a big operation. We even have our own power plants, we have our own sewage works, we even have boreholes bringing the water up from the water table to serve the villages. You can imagine the types of jobs we have: plumbers, electricians. We have forest rangers to look after the forest. Every location is based on 400-acre space forest, and we have to look after that forest. The natural environment is very important to us. So a whole range of jobs. This is the surface stuff. Traditionally, our advertising would focus on this stuff because Centre Parcs is a unique proposition in the UK. There is nothing quite like it. And unless you've been, it's very difficult to understand what you get. So we've concentrated on telling people this story that you see up on the screen. Research over the last year or 18 months has told us that we've been doing that a long time. People get it. They know there are lots of activities. They know it's for families. They might misunderstand it slightly, but they get the core points about what's up there. What's more motivating for families are the emotional benefits you get from a short break together with your family. So this year, we've completely changed our TV advertising and what comes beyond that on digital media. And before I sit down with Simon, please indulge me. I'm going to just show the current TV ad. Thanks.
You with the sad eyes, don't be discouraged, though I realize it's hard to take courage in a world full of people. You can lose sight of it all, and the darkness inside you can make you feel so small. And I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors. That's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show. Your true colors are beautiful.
There you go, something very different for Centre Parcs.
Thank you. That was the commercial break, and now we're into Graham Norton or Paxman mode. Let's see how we get on. Colin, the advert's very different. How's it been received?
It's been received extremely well. It has got a lot of comments on social media about, mums crying about the emotion that comes out from that ad. But we've had some funny comments as well. We've had one mother who phoned up our contact centre and wanted to know which village the bears were at, because that's where they wanted to go. And the other extreme was we got told off by another mother on social media saying it's outrageous that Centre Parcs are bringing bears to their villages because it's dangerous for children. I'm quite happy.
So let's continue on with that vein. What are the Centre Parcs values and how are they reflected in your offering?
Okay, so as Simon said, I have a slide that I prepared earlier. There are 5 key aspects that we talk about within Centre Parcs that we try to instill across all the staff. Stuart earlier talked about instilling the brand values throughout an organisation, and this is something we try to do with these 5 aspects. And we also try to keep them at the forefront of our mind when we're making significant business decisions. So the first one is about being respectful. I touched on 400 acres of forest. That is a USP for us. It is a differentiator. We care and respect for that forest. We employ a bunch of forest rangers on every village to look after the forest, so that's very important. But also, of course, respecting our guests and what they're looking for from their stay at Centre Parcs, respecting our colleagues, our staff and team members, and also respect for our business partners. So respect is very much part of the brand. Safety is important. We're dealing with families and young children, and physically it's important that everything we do is safe. So we have a strong health and safety department from that perspective. But safety at Centre Parcs means more than just the physical side of things. It's about emotionally feeling safe about trying new things. Centre Parcs is about discovery and a sense of freedom. And we want people to be relaxed about trying new things, not thinking that people are watching them or they're being judged. So that is very important in terms of the style we create our villages. The third one is togetherness, and this is probably at the heart of everything Centre Parcs, which is bringing families together. Our guests tell us that the most valuable aspects of a stay at Centre Parcs is the connectivity between their families, so different from the daily routine and the daily chores that distract us from spending quality time together. So, you know, we'll design our lodges very open plan, modern, to encourage people to use that central space. We put a lot of sharing desserts on the menus, and many of the activities are about families doing things together. So togetherness is certainly a big one. This next one is about us being a facilitator rather than a leader. Some people describe Centre Parcs as a posh holiday camp, and I hate that. We are not a holiday camp, and I hope those people who have been and have been more than once would appreciate why I say that. We provide a canvas. It's not a blank canvas, because you saw from my previous slide, we have 150 activities, indoors and outdoors. You need indoors in the UK because of the weather. We allow families to choose and decide what they want to do. There's something for everybody, for all ages, whether you're looking to relax and chill out or whether you're looking for adrenaline-fueled activities. We're just there to help and assist. We're facilitators. It's your family and your time. The next one is aspirational. We consider quality of utmost importance. We don't cut corners when we're investing, innovating, refurbishing. We're trying to be an aspirational brand for families in the UK. And then finally, I think linked quite closely with togetherness is empathy, having empathy with our core audience. And that, as I say, is families, understanding what families want and need, and making sure we're a family-friendly resort, not just child-friendly. We're very big on the parents enjoying their time at Centre Parcs. And another phrase I don't quite like is when parents say, oh, if the children are happy, we're happy. I want everybody to be happy, you know, in their own minds. So empathy, which is all about keeping in contact and making sure we've got regular research and feedback coming through to help us evolve and change and keep up.
Thank you, Colin. You heard a lot last night about the next generation CSPs, about the importance of the brand and customer service. So what is the relationship between your brand and your customer service?
Yeah, okay. Another slide prepared earlier, and I hope you can see this and appreciate this. So this is about the brand coming through very loudly and clearly through everything we do. Excuse me, but I'll run through, you know, what's on that slide in case it's not clear. But we want that brand to feed through. Our recruitment, the mantra in our HR department, similar again to something that Stuart said just earlier. Our HR department talk about recruiting for attitude and training for skill. The training and development that follows that, motivation and retention of our teams, the behaviours that we imbue across the piece. Our tone of voice, and our tone of voice comes through our marketing material as well as our customer-facing staff, the cultures and values that back that up. And this is across all touch points, and this is, you know, technology as well as customer-facing staff. So all of that should feed through to the guest being very clear about what our brand stands for. And if you're consistent, hopefully people appreciate it and come back. Another way of looking at that is making sure that there is alignment between these three aspects of our business, and that triangle is balance. Marketing must not promise what we can't deliver. They must be realistic with their expectations about what the brand is about and what the experience will be when people get to our villages. Perceptions of a brand are very much based on the experience, certainly in our industry, rather than what marketing say. So they must be closely aligned. And similarly, it's really important that we explain to our staff what our brand is, who we are, what we are, and what is expected of them in terms of the way they look after our guests. So that balance across that triangle is really important.
And what does that mean in practice? You know, how that's delivered on the ground? Take, for example, recruitment and training.
Yeah, okay. So blowing up that triangle a little bit more, this is emphasising the importance of starting with a strong brand, consistent culture and values. And it has to start from the top. Our CEO, Martin Dalby, has been in place for, I think, about 15 years. Has huge passion and enthusiasm for our business. And he also, he talks about the Center Parcs family when describing the internal culture, and that very much comes from him. He's got a very down-to-earth and approachable style. He's frequently on the villages. He meets up with staff at all levels, and he'll talk to anybody. I think I'm right in saying that anybody would feel that they could approach Martin and ask him a question and have a conversation with him. So it starts from the top. And then beneath that, what we've developed is a program called Delivering Excellent Service. And this is marketing, training, HR and operations all coming together to create a very explicit link between recruitment, induction, training, performance targets and measures against those targets, rewards and recognition. As I said, it all starts with the recruitment. Really important that we recruit customer-facing staff that are personable, are confident, genuinely are interested in people, and I think you'd be looking for those sorts of people as well, and care about great service. We then move on to the training program, and this slide is just trying to give you a feel for that training program. Everybody goes through the DES, Delivering Excellent Service training program at Center Parcs, even head office management, so that we understand what is important through service. And we try and put our staff in the shoes of our guests. What would you expect? So when you're confronted by somebody, approached by somebody, acknowledge me, look me in the eye, give me a smile, make me feel welcome, engage me, take an interest in what I'm doing. And one of the little things we added into this course, which I think is really important from a brand perspective, was engage with the children. I don't know about the rest of you that are parents, but when another adult talks to and takes an interest in my child, I feel proud. And if we can get that across frequently in Center Parcs, then you're giving an extra little bit of a lift to the brand and the whole experience. Then there's the help me. And important here is don't wait for people to ask. If you can see somebody is struggling or looking for information or a little bit confused, approach them and offer to help. At Center Parcs, we've got 400 acres of forest. It's quite easy to get lost. You often see families looking at their maps wondering which way to go. 10 years ago, staff members would often walk past that group of people and not stop. Now, because of the training, they'll stop and offer to help. And we get letters in acknowledging that level of service. So little things often make a big difference. And then there's a layer of surprise and delight. We encourage and empower our team members to surprise and delight our guests. So, for example, If a housekeeper going into a lodge realises that it's one of the little girl's birthday, quite often we get letters saying the housekeeper bought a birthday card for the little girl. Sometimes cuddly toys are left on the bed and they'll be arranged perfectly, sometimes with a book propped up in front of them so it looks like the teddy bear is reading a book, which little kids absolutely love. And it's those little touches that are really important and we've tried to instill in our staff.
There's a question for Adrian. As a CSPN network, NPS score is 38% and rising.
Yeah.
So you knew this one was coming. Is how do you measure your customer experience?
Okay. So at the core, we have a guest service questionnaire. Everybody who stays at Center Parcs gets an email from us the day after they arrive home with a pretty comprehensive questionnaire. I think there are over 100 questions. And we ask our guests to score every element of the Center Parcs stay, every shop, every activity, the pool, the lodge, the spa, the forest environment, and we build up scores based on that. Over 25% of our guests fill in that questionnaire. So it's a good sample. Based on those scores, we set year-on-year targets, and everybody is bonused and targeted against those measures. It's very high profile. And in addition to the annual bonuses, we'll have spot prizes to celebrate the right behaviour. We'll have award ceremonies like you did last night. The best village, the best leisure department, the best pool team, etc. It is absolutely embedded in our internal DNA, this focus on great customer service. So we have guest service scores. We use, similar to the NPS, we use those people who rate us excellent and good, take away those who rate us fair and poor, and come up with our guest service score. Currently at 87%, we're chuffed to bits with that. And year on year, that's been going up. A few years ago, it was around the 80 mark. And we've got a project that's just about to be launched called DES 90, where we try and get that 87 to 90%, which won't be in a year. It'll probably be 3 to 5 years, but we're always looking to go more. And on the more traditional Net Promoter Score, which we also measure, we use the question, would you recommend a friend to come and stay at Center Parcs? We use the same formula to calculate the score, excellent plus good minus fair plus poor. And our NPS score is 64%.
Cool. So can you give me a couple of examples, practical examples, of how you use customer feedback, particularly about nipping things in the bud? Because if you're going to make an uplift on your NPS score, it's that whole service offer.
So we would look at feedback on different levels. So those guest service questionnaires are available to our management on the villages real time. There's a portal that they can access and see the latest scores. So we very much encourage people to nip it in the bud where they see an issue emerging, address it straight away. So for example, if we're responding slowly to faults recorded by guests in a lodge, a dripping tap or something, we'll make sure we're speeding up the response. We'll talk to the team. We'll address any issues if there's a staffing issue, resource issue, etc. Right through to the bigger investments. So if we see that in one of our pools, we call our pools subtropical swimming paradise, that the guest satisfaction scores are dropping, then we'll be having a big discussion about big capital investment. As I said earlier, we spend 60 million a year on average every year, refurbishing, maintaining and innovating. So that guest feedback can work at different levels. But because it's dynamic, because it's constant and we're reviewing it all the time, we rarely get any surprises. So it's an interesting question to answer because virtually everything we do and change is based on feedback. I've talked about the guest service questionnaire. We'll also be looking at social media and we do our own research, quantitative and qualitative research.
So if I can throw one in, unprepared one, is if your NPS is 64, what do you think needs to be done better or different?
We always want, we know in our business, we don't have any direct competitors, but I was speaking to somebody about this yesterday, one of your colleagues. He asked me who are your direct competitors. Well, I said to him, what do you do with your family for days out and short breaks? Where do you go? Isle of Wight was the answer. So that's a competitor of ours. We cannot rest on our laurels. We need to continually improve. And I think it's because we've always strive to get better, that 28 years in, we're still, the leading short break provider in the UK with 98% occupancy, average occupancy in a year. So we're just pushing all the time. It's difficult to know where the limit is, but we want people to come back.
You've had a crash course in CSP land and the wonderful world of sport, wonderful world of acronyms in sport. What would be your top tips to CSPs in providing that quality customer service?
Okay. We looked at the way I thought about this. I'm not an expert on your world, and coming in, for less than 24 hours and pretend that I could tell you how best to do things it doesn't feel right. But in my world, if I was looking at Center Parcs and we wanted to refresh the brand and think about what are we doing, these are the questions we would ask ourselves, and hopefully there's some takeout that is useful for you guys. So, who are you as a brand, as a business, and what do you deliver for your customers? Internally, ask that question. Are you adding to people's lives? What difference do you make? And in your world, you're making a huge difference. What do your consumers, your customers think of you? Is it accurate with what you think, and is it accurate with what the question you've asked yourself? If there is disparity there, you've got a problem that you need to address. Who are your staff, especially the customer-facing ones? Understand them, understand their motivations. What do your staff think of your service? Again, does it align? What do you want to be? What's your aspiration? What's the route you want to go on? And is it possible to get there? Back to my point, if the gap's too big, you're going to need to take smaller steps. You can't make a giant leap in one go. You need to plot your path. And then finally, I think we all know this, but it never harms to remind ourselves, bring everyone with you. Don't sit in offices coming up with great plans and not bring everybody that needs to be with you along on the journey. Measure, reward, and recognise the right behaviours. Those targets, clear performance measurement, rewards, is really important in our business to get the right behaviours. So you're measuring results against targets.
Cool. Thank you, Colin. Thank you very much. Would like everybody to thank Colin for his unique insight into the customer service and the offer, and hopefully encourage many of you to return to Center Parcs in the future. Support AFC Wimbledon if there is that opportunity, and also in terms of us taking away some key thoughts about how we develop the brand, how do we develop the values around how we work, and how do we get that association right across and through our operations as CSPs, and how do we make sure we're providing that quality customer service. Quite often we're delivering through a third party. So how do they embrace our values and our brand? How do they see what we're really trying to achieve? So Colin, thank you very much for that insight. Thank you.